Cool. Thanks.
In the Banning area for the daytime hours, sunny skies or an abundance of highs, middle 90s. For the daytime hours in the IE area, expect sunny skies, highs in the upper 90s. And for the daytime for the Coachella Valley, sunny skies throughout the afternoon, high 103. I'm forecaster Jimmy O'Neill for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. It's good to have you with us. On today's show, we've got lots of stories, lots of information, lots of fun and excitement. Of course, your comments and social media as well. Facebook Live, Periscope TV, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube Live is where it's all at. Find us on social media. You can do so just by typing in KMET 1490 AM on any one of those channels, or on Twitter, KMET Radio. You'll find us there, and or my own social media handles, Aaron M. Sanchez. Again, you can always find us there, and Jesse as well on Twitter at I am Jesse Sanchez. Jesse, good morning.
Good morning.
So lots of news, lots of questions. What's going on around the world? Any little tidbits you can give us?
Tidbits. Just honestly, there's so much bad stuff in the news. Like, I don't know if you've heard about what's happening with what's the big thing? Story of the day, Gabby Petito.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know enough about it.
Neither. I just recently discovered it because it's everywhere. And I'm just like, as I started watching the videos of the interaction between Gabby and her, I don't know if it's boyfriend or fiance, but it's just like he acts weird. And I'm like, whether you have bad or good feelings about your ex or whatever, if they've gone missing and you're not willing to help, that's just a giant red flag to me.
Okay, I think I know which one this one is now, because I remember seeing it when it first hit the headlines, but I kind of figured it would be solved by now, because it's kind of like he returned and she didn't. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought, like, that's a huge red flag. Like, why wouldn't he be called into question really quick? Which we should see some more. I mean, according to this, the latest that I see here is a 911 emergency call reported details of a possible domestic dispute between Gabby Petito and her fiance, Brian Laundrie, including a description of Laundrie striking Petito. Laundrie, 23, was Petito's travel companion and is a person of interest in the YouTuber's missing person case, which she is known for being a YouTuber and kind of letting, her stuff out there, and a lot of content there. A body matching the description of Petito was found Sunday, more than 3 weeks since the last sighting of Petito. I did not know that. On August 12th, Moab, Utah, police pulled over 22-year-old Petito and Laundrie's van while they were journeying through the state as part of a cross-country trip they were recording, posting on YouTube and Instagram. A police squad car parked near the entrance of Arches National Park observed the van driving 45 miles per hour in a 15-mile-per-hour zone, watched it swerve out of its lane, hitting a curb, according to a report by WJXX, who's an ABC affiliate serving Jacksonville. Now, Laundrie told police the two were in a disagreement, and he recommended Petito to take a walk to calm down. Police reported that Petito went to slap Laundrie and he then pushed her away. That's according to WJXX. A 911 caller observing the two earlier saw that Laundrie striking Petito was inside the van. The witness described the van as a white Ford with a Florida license plate. The witness then described seeing the couple exit the van, run up and down the sidewalk before Laundrie struck Petito. The two then drove off, according to the witness. Police determined the incident as an emotional break rather than a domestic incident. Not sure what that means exactly, but maybe because they weren't married yet. I don't understand that. What's an emotional break, Jesse?
That's a good question. I have no idea, but it's just like so many red flags on this whole case, and apparently he's missing now. The suspect. I don't even know what you would call him because he's not a suspect yet, is he?
I don't see. He would be a person of interest in this case for sure. Let's see. It says about a month later, Petito was reported to be missing, and Laundrie returned to his Northport, Florida home, refusing to speak to law enforcement about her disappearance. On Sunday, authorities announced a body fitting her description was found in the section of Wyoming's Bridger-Teton National Forest. The body has not been confirmed to be Petito, but an autopsy is being conducted. Okay, so this is a bunch of stuff, which is kind of spelling kind of the obvious, which you kind of wonder if it's that obvious. Why aren't things being done quicker? I don't know what's kind of the delay if this is happening, because it would kind of beg the question of why is there not already, like, why wouldn't he? I mean, everybody that watches NCIS or CIS or any of those shows knows you lock the guy up right away. You start asking questions, right? I mean, whether you refuse or not, now that they have the body, I think that's the question of the day. Is that her? And then they can determine her time of death and other things and see if it was him. Authorities renewed their search of a swampy preserve area near the home of the boyfriend wanted for questioning, whose body was discovered at a Wyoming national park months after the pair set out on a cross-country road trip. This is some latest news, according to the Associated Press. Police in Northport, Florida, said actually today that investigators have returned to the Carlton Reserve to look for Brian Laundrie, who's 23. Investigators searched the 24,000-acre Florida Nature Preserve over the weekend without success. They focused on the area after Laundrie's parents told police he may have gone there. Now, I know that they already said it was suspicious. I remember them being interviewed by a local, well, not local, I think they were sharing it, but it was their local news agency, and they already suspect some foul play because she would always check in very regularly and, of course, be on YouTube and, of course, stream from wherever she was. So the fact that she went dark after all, after a while, obviously was pretty obvious to them. On Monday, the FBI went to Laundrie parents' home in Northport and removed several boxes and towed away a car. Neighbor said Laundrie's mother typically used. Laundrie and Petito had been living with his parents at the Northport home before the road trip on which she died. The young couple had set out in July in a converted van to visit national parks in the West. They got into a fight along the way, which we just reported on a separate news moment. And Laundrie was alone when he returned in the van to his parents' home September 1st. I'm not going to lie, Jesse. If this guy gets an attorney, I don't know how you're going to make him look innocent other than somehow him saying, okay, yeah, she ran off and, he didn't know what happened. But the fact that he wasn't cooperating is kind of weird in of itself, right?
Yeah, it is. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, he had like all these, like, I was watching the videos and he had like all these scratches on his arms. Come on, it's like a dead giveaway that he beat her or something like that. And they're treating him like the victim, like Rosalie said. Well, so it's just like I don't know, a bunch of red flags for me.
Well, and this is, I think, going to be probably the biggest question of the day is the officers who actually did come across them. Why was it handled in the way it was? But maybe it was handled as a situation that they didn't fully understand. Now, according to this video released by the Moab police, showed that an officer pulled the couple's van over on the same day after it was seen speeding and hitting a curb near Arches National Park. The body camera footage showed an upset Petito. Her, right? Laundrie said on the video that the couple had gotten into a scuffle after he climbed into the van with dirty feet. He said he did not want to pursue a domestic violence charge against her, who officers decided was the aggressor. Moab police separated the couple for the night, with Laundrie checking into a motel and Petito remaining with the van. Okay, I could see that happening. They're like, look, you two need to cool it off. You go over there, you go over there. It's probably best we don't lock you up, but can you try to get along? I can understand that from what do you do as a police officer? You don't lock them up for that, right? In the footage, Gabby cried as she told the officer she and Laundrie had been arguing over her excessive cleaning of the van. She told the officer she has OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so that means she's pretty honest about it. On Dr. Phil, her father said that was not literally true. She just likes to keep her living area orderly and was using slang, he said. Okay, I could see that because some people are like, I'm very OCD, right? I think sometimes you kind of say that, right? In general.
From time to time, certain things I do.
Yeah. So I mean, her father would know what he's talking about. 'Cause some people do say that they're like, I'm oh so OCD, when in reality, they don't understand what OCD is. But maybe she was having a bad morning or a bad day. That could be possible. We all know about fights and happening that way. However, what happened in the subsequent days after that, I think is going to be the biggest question. So I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this. And yeah, Rosalie says cops did to her what they've always done to me. I'm not going to cite you today for domestic violence. I'm going to separate you both for the night. They treated him like the victim. He got his whole hand shoved her in the face and pushed her. She hit back because he had a scratch. Cops made her feel like she's lucky she wasn't getting arrested. Oh, they do that. That's true. And even when she tried to downplay what really happened. See, I haven't seen the body footage on that, but evidently you have, Rosalie. So thank you for that information. So there you go. Yeah, I don't really fully know what to think about this. Obviously, then it's kind of like pretty obvious if you're not going to talk to the police, you have something to hide, right?
I mean, like that's my first indication. I mean, like if you're not willing to help the police in locating your fiance, girlfriend, whatever she is, it's kind of like a dead giveaway that you did something wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I'm feeling bad for the parents and the family for sure, especially knowing about this. Like everything's coming so fast for them. I think if anything, they were hoping she was still missing, but now that this other, um, it's sad that they're going to. It must be so difficult to see the body in its present position. So that's going to be the difficulty. And the autopsy thing is going to be everything for this case, and then some, and where it was found, and then of course tracing back the steps. He's definitely going to need an attorney for what he's doing. But if he's missing, that's also going to show obviously something. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, you're wondering what's going to happen next. Sometimes in these type of cases, people end up taking their own lives. Sometimes they don't. Was it a heated dispute that ended up getting worse, and then all of a sudden there was an accident? Who knows, right? We can only theorize until the information is presented, and the ones that do their job will be able to find out exactly how to make sense of it all. It's so important to always come at these things as a very impartial person, and it's a very difficult situation. It's a very difficult, but I think Rosalie kind of hit it on the nail, which says they did to her what they've always done, even to her, right? Sometimes they especially if there's not a woman cop present, the male cops can sometimes be like, yeah, and kind of downgrade, yeah, like the woman's part of it, but who knows, right? We don't know fully. I haven't seen again the footage, so I can't really comment on that. But there you go, man. Jesse, you're right. That is depressing news.
I right. I'm going through the news trying to find just anything to make me smile,
Yeah,
and it's just like, if we go from one bad news to the next, and it's sad, and it was crazy. This is like a giant murder mystery, and well, not even a murder because we don't even know if she's dead yet. I don't think they confirmed that it's her.
right.
So that leaves me with so many more questions that I don't really want to ask.
Yeah,
Like, if you can't identify the body, like how mangled is it?
right.
So it's yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I agree. So we'll be watching this case very closely in the coming days ahead and give you the information as we get it as well. Again, I can't see him staying away for very long. The fact that they're looking for him and kind of, the swamp area means they're really trying to find this guy. So we'll see what happens. Now, this is the latest, and this is actually more positive than negative. A second dose of Johnson & Johnson's COVID vaccine given 2 months after the first leads to stronger position, according to the company, has done well. The new data announced in a press release, adds to a growing body of evidence suggesting that booster shots could enhance vaccine protection against breakthrough infections, though experts agree all 3 vaccines are still doing their job to protect against more serious illness. Now, compared to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, Johnson & Johnson's single-shot vaccine had slightly lower efficacy. Peak efficacy from the 2-shot Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were 95% and 94% against symptomatic illness. But 2 Johnson & Johnson shots given 2 months apart resulted in a similarly high effectiveness level, 94% protection against any symptomatic infection in the U.S. and 100% against severe disease. That's interesting. With Pfizer's booster shots now up for formal review from the Food and Drug Administration, Moderna shortly to follow, the new data will factor in a regulator's decision about if and when additional shots are appropriate for the 14.9 million people who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. All 3 currently authorized vaccines are still working well to dramatically reduce the risk of being hospitalized. But, of course, as months are passing and with the emergence of new COVID variants, the vaccines are losing the power to prevent more mild breakthrough infections. The new Johnson & Johnson data raises questions about when to give an additional shot for the country's only single-shot vaccine. New data describing a booster 2 months later found a marked increase in antibody levels, but prior data already published found that a booster shot given 6 months after the first dose results in higher antibody levels. According to Dr. Dan Barouch, director of the Center for Virology and Vaccine Research, said with the 2-month boost interval, there was a 4-fold increase in antibodies, but when a booster was given after 6 months, it led to a 12-fold increase in antibodies. So very important information there about the Johnson & Johnson one. I know I'm looking at this very closely because my mom did get the Johnson & Johnson one, not the Moderna and not the Pfizer one. We held off on that for a reason. But having said that, the numbers are still up. 676,000 have actually been confirmed dead because of COVID. And that's just the tip of the iceberg if we continue like this for the next couple of years, which I know some have said, I thought for sure we were going to be out of this. And I said late last year, I said, be prepared for a possible 2 to 3 year run of this based on information that we have found based on the Spanish pandemic flu. When you look at the news with that and you see that it lasted about 2.5 years and or 3 in some cases, depending on when it actually started, you'll see that there's kind of a run of these things. And that was when we had less type of, honestly, like the ability to produce vaccines so quick. So I think with this one, we can get ahead of it, but because of travel, because of people, not kind of paying attention to authorities. Back then, you had people more or less, even at ballparks, wearing face masks during the whole, game. Do you remember seeing those pictures, Jesse?
Oh yeah, like in the football and baseball games.
Yeah. So
I remember that.
Yeah, wearing face masks is not anything new. It's something that has gone on for quite some time, and I'm pretty sure back then they didn't fight it as much as they are now. But having said that, of course, people have questions, like why does it happen exactly 100 years later? I remember that question happening very quick, and like, isn't that kind of weird? But, weird or not, it's still killing a lot more people than was originally estimated. I know in the later years of last year, or rather later months, I'm sorry, I'm misquoting. In the later months of last year, the president pretty much of the time said, 125,000 would be probably the max. Or maybe he didn't say max, but he said there'd be at least 125 to 5,000. But here we are, more than, what is that, 5 times that number? So, these are the type of things where when people realize where we are in the stream of things, are we going to do what is necessary in order to curb it? There are certain countries that have already done so. There are countries that have literally put a kibosh right on the middle of it, like New Zealand and others, which the moment there's a case, they put a kibosh on everybody. But have we done that here? No. And so we've got questions about that, obviously. But hopefully we have answers around the corner with this. A big shout out to Algenia, who says, hello, everybody. Let's just keep each other's in our prayers. It will last 2 to 5 years, that there are 2 diseases out there overseas. Yeah, and I hate to say that, but it's important to kind of, in a way, be prepared for it. But do the necessary precautions, do what you need to do. It doesn't mean we're all going to die. It just means, are you going to minimize your risk as we move forward? And there's ways to do that. Very simply, it's hand sanitizer. Obviously, in some cases where there's high outbreaks, even gloves and or, of course, face masks. And I always suggest it N95s, not just regular cloth face masks that do much of nothing. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the morning show. When we get back, we got more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Oh my God. Someone sent me a news article and it's horrifying.
What does that mean? Oh, no.
This happened in Riverside.
Okay, how horrifying is it? Because we already started off with horrifying stuff. I'm ready to... Let's see. Here's a headline. New Zealand's largest city to remain locked down. See?
Okay.
Oh, here it is. COVID killed about as many Americans as the 1918 flu.
Okay. We're almost there. We're good. You want me to read you the headline for this one?
Hold on. I want to see it. Yeah, go for it.
Investigation underway after 87-year-old woman's body found inside garage refrigerator in Riverside.
Oh, God.
I know. I told you.
That's...
Someone sent it to me. I was like, oh my God, no.
Well, that's your neck of the woods, not mine. So
I know, that's even worse. But honestly, it's not like it's the first time that's happened. It's happened before in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
Most likely she probably passed away and they're collecting the Social Security checks or something like that. It's happened before.
Right.
It's just sad that people have to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, Gina's like, it's like, what's next? I know, right?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this comparison of the 1918. They're calling it the flu. It was nicknamed the Spanish pandemic, right? Which a lot of people don't know the history of it. But if you looked at the history of that, that's how I actually got my kind of math and numbers based on world population and travel. But they blamed a lot of it from those because it had a dip just like ours, and it had several surges, and it always surged in the winter months, right? But they had kind of estimated, of course, after it had already kind of passed, of course, how things got spread, and they felt that because of World War I happening, a lot of the soldiers brought it into the States as well because they were traveling abroad, right? So that was before, of course, regular commercial airlines were as big as they are now, which is you can go anywhere and everywhere just with the right amount of money, right?
30 seconds.
So it's weird that now they're actually saying, yep, it killed about as many Americans as the 1918 flu. So
didn't it get worse in 1920?
I think it did, but it started to level down in the late 1920. Yeah. But again, that's 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
So
here we go.
Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. Download our app. It's free. You can download it on your mobile device. Just type it in, KMET 1490 AM. You can do so and get us anywhere you're at and then some. And then, of course, enjoy the great fun right there. Now, we have a lot of stuff going on in the world, and obviously there are questions. What's going to happen next? What's going to be the case for all of us? Are we going to be safe? Are we going to be able to do things right next? And I'd say yes. I know many are actually saying that now it is pretty much confirmed that the amount of deaths are actually as bad as the Spanish pandemic flu. And this is before going into the fall season. I will say this, and I've said this before, whenever you go into the fall season in cold winter months, you're going to get more viruses anyway. You're going to get colds, you're going to get the flu, but if you get the coronavirus strain or any of the variants, then you've got a big question mark in your head, of course, what's going to happen next. Of course, government is trying to figure it out. Biden administration is trying to figure out the situation with Afghanistan and here on the home front financially. The world's economy has dipped so significantly that certain currencies are technically the lowest they've ever been, which caused huge other spikes in other types of things. For example, gas. Have you looked at the gas amount in the last coming days, Jesse? Like 450 is an average amount for us here in California.
Yeah, it's crazy. My friend from Texas likes to send me texts of their gas prices, and I just get angry.
Yeah, well, you mean like the $2 and some cents that they get to pay?
Yes, I don't talk about it. I, especially when I see our gas prices at four something, I'm just like, I don't want to even go out and drive anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why are prices going up when they should be going down for the rest of us? But that's what happens. People sometimes take advantage in certain industries, I believe, take advantage of the times that we're in. A lot of people right now are homeless. If you go down LA, any parts of LA, or even other cities, you'll see encampments of just tents. I recently drove down the 101 freeway and I noticed to the right, which is on the west of the 101 freeway, a whole like parking lot just completely filled up with just tents, which were organized enough. But I thought, wow, here we are in the state of California, which is supposed to be the big golden state. And somebody made a comment to me the other day and they said, look at this mess. Nobody's dealing with the situation at hand. Across from City Hall, you have so many that are just out on the streets homeless. I'm not saying boot them and move them to another area. I'm saying, why are we not dealing with the things that are here already? How about them? Are we waiting for them to die from coronavirus or the cold coming winter months? Why is the mayor not taking the proper amount of steps necessary in order to get people off the streets and technically taken care of? It's not that difficult, but we're at a horrible moment in time where we have never seen this in the last, I want to say, 8 years. I remember walking down downtown LA and probably at least more than 3 or 4 years ago. I remember homeless people always coming up. That's always a thing. But where there's so many on the streets just literally pitching tents, again, I'm not saying that they have it easy. They don't. But the point is, why is this not being dealt with in a proper way by getting them in the proper places that they need to be? How difficult is it to do that right now? If you can create shelters for coronavirus victims and or such, why are you not doing the same for the rest? I just don't understand it. There are things that we can do back to humanity and doing things for right. We can do this here on the home front. The fact that if you go literally down across from the court center and you see people literally in tents, homeless, and just making ends meet with a tent and or maybe a bucket just to go to the restroom, you got to wonder about the sanitary nature of that and for those that literally are living like this. It's not an easy thing. Something needs to be done and nothing is being done. Why? That's the question I have. I have that along with, of course, other things that are not being done properly. If you had the ability to be the mayor, what would you do, Jesse, to make things right for the state of California?
Ooh, I have no idea because most likely I'll be a dictator. No, but no, because it's just like on certain things, it's just like those people that are yelling and angry at other people. Yeah, no, they'll be dealt with swiftly. But I mean, as long as just don't overreact. I like so I said I'm not in charge, so I would not know what to do. I would just panic and just I don't know.
Yeah, I will say this. It's a good question to ask. I've always asked people, starting last year, and I asked usually like in April, especially with the whole Trump thing, because people were putting their name on the ballot in order to run for president, including I think Kanye, right? And I was like, okay, there's no way he's going to win, but he entered anyway for the presidential bid. But I wonder at times if you had everybody that actually says, I want to be the mayor for a month, what would people do? I think people would put in good suggestions and we would probably get the majority of better thoughts from the majority of people just by saying it. And then, of course, somebody saying, you know what, we're going to implement those ideas, kind of like a suggestion box. If you've ever had a suggestion box at your place of employment and you've actually offered suggestions and then they incorporate them, there are companies that do better for having inquired on the employees of what that is to do. Now, if you talk to the average citizen in the state of California and or abroad, you will find that they have their finger on the pulse more than governors do, and or certain presidential electoral votes of people that want to get just votes in. I think if somebody were to run, if you said, look, let's look at the people's suggestion, you run for a month, what would you do? And then get everybody's suggestion. I think by far and large, by a large community, we'd all figure it out. And I think one day I'm going to do that, Jesse. I'm going to start that with today. What would you do about the homeless situation if you could be the mayor for a month? Okay, that's the question of those in new social media. I know you guys are very smart. I know you've already got the ideas in your head. So start typing those out. We'll share those here, and maybe someone will listen to us. I know they've listened to us in the past on some things. You never know who's listening, so let's find out. We'll take those comments next here on The Morning Show. Stay tuned for more right after this.
I know what they could do, but I don't think they would do it.
Yeah, but it's good to talk about. I think when we
Sure.
start thinking about it and we start kind of sharing ideas, I've got a couple ideas. I'm looking up, and I saw this news article like 8 years back, maybe, or maybe 4 or 5 years back. I can't remember. So I'm trying to look for it, but it was a county which actually gave housing to the homeless, and it really helped out. And I shared it on the show about 3 years back, so it must have been about that time. But I can't find it right now. Hold on. It might not have been Colorado.
Like if I had a large chunk of land, I'd build like a tiny home village for the homeless. But obviously there will be set rules within the village. You know, obviously no drugs and stuff like that. No fighting. You know, this is a place for people to get their lives back in order and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real, there are some people that abuse everything.
Yeah, I understand that, but there are organizations that have done it right in
Yeah.
past years, and I'd say look to those that have already done it and then start adopting those. I'm looking at some things here because I know there are some that have done it for quite some time and actually done a good job um, in the long run. That you could say, okay, they've had success. We can start at least down that path.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Oh no, I saw. About a couple weeks, no, about a week ago, I saw a TikTok about this woman who um was with her cousin or family member or something like that, and she discovered something in her car.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this on the show, I think last year when they released it, but it was really shocking. I'm not gonna tell you what it is yet. Da da da. 10 seconds. Here we go.
HDRinfo.com.
Welcome back.
Welcome
Yes,
back.
it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM, where we're taking your comments in social media, checking them out, and sharing with people abroad. Of course, there's a lot of questions about what's happening with our situation here on the home front where you have people, of course, that are making money, others are losing money, and others are losing jobs, and others are having kind of a difficult time. I recently did a very important program, which was this Saturday, this past Saturday, and it was for the Jewels of Youth Foundation, which is founded by Lupe Ibarra. And I talked about it, and we broadcast some of the information on my channel on Facebook and, of course, YouTube. And a lot of the information was really good. But there was this moment where this young girl who's actually she has special needs, and she knows it. And she is such a, how do I say it, like a just a naturally funny young lady. And she herself said last year it's been so difficult. And she's actually been in a movie that's now on Netflix, so she had a really good time with that. It's a comedy, and I can't remember the name of it, but she stated that her mom literally flatlined for a good while, like she died and came back. And she's like, thank you, Mom, for surviving. Thank you, but it's been difficult. People have lost their jobs. People have gotten sick. We know people that have died, have to go to funerals. And she was kind of reiterating something that was very telling of last year's situation and also this year's situation that I know a lot of people just don't want to talk about because they're going through it. I know I've been already like week after week after week. Somebody I know is dead, and I'm doing a Zoom funeral a little too often, more than I like. But these things are happening, and people are trying just to stay afloat, either financially and or in their homes and then some. So I'm looking at the situation where we have people really trying to do the right thing in other states and even here in the home front. But I wonder why here in LA it's so slow and moving. Because if you just go down LA, and of course LA or Hollywood Boulevard has a lot of tourists that come here and check it out. But over the last coming years, it has just kind of gone downhill fast, quick, and in a bad way. Now, of course, there's beachfront areas where there's a lot of homeless already there. And I remember walking down to Santa Monica and or Venice, and you would kind of see it very common where you had homeless people living near the beach, which I'm not going to lie. If I were ever homeless, I'd probably find myself near there too, because you have everything and then some, right? And then plus there's, the beach. So why not? But at the same time, how long do you stay like that is the question. What got you there? What's going to keep you there? And what's going to pull you out of it? So the question I said before we went to break is, if you were mayor for a month, what would you do in order to help those less fortunate than yourself? And we're getting comments in, or at least people thinking about it. And Jesse, what would you do if you could, if you just knew it would probably work more than not?
Yeah, I don't know how much power a mayor could have, but what I would like to do is I would like to have like a tiny village home for homeless people to, get back on their feet.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's going to be, well maintained, just there's going to be sets of rules.
Yeah.
And it's just, I honestly think that if they had a chance to, place to stay and stuff like that, that they would take it.
Well,
So I don't know. Hopefully it'll work.
yeah, well, it's not wrong. For example, I'm looking up this San Francisco, right? After years of resistance, San Francisco is jumping into the tiny homes technique for sheltering homeless people with plans to install them on two parking lots between Market and Mission Streets. Now, this is the latest news according to the Chronicle, which is a local news outlet there in San Francisco. The lots at 33 Ghost Street have been used since December as a city-sanctioned safe sleeping village, holding 44 tents for unhoused people while they get counseling aimed at routing them into permanent homes. Those tents will be replaced by late fall with 70 tiny homes dubbed cabins, similar to those in use for years in Oakland, the Peninsula, and San Jose. Each 64 square foot cabin will have a steel frame, 2-inch thick walls, heating systems, a desk, a bed, and a window. The site will get improved bathrooms, storage spaces, and a dining area. The $1.7 million cost of building and installing the cabins, along with the dining and other facilities, will be paid for by the money raised by the nonprofits Dignity Moves and Tipping Point Community. The cabins will remain for 18 months when the lease the city signed for using the parking lot as outdoor shelter space runs out. The cabins are a pilot program only, and this test is the latest in a series of new techniques being tried by the city in light of the spiking homeless population during the pandemic. Again, since the pandemic started, there is a surge of homelessness. People wonder why. But when people cannot pay down certain debts, some people just say, forget it. I'm just going to go live on the streets. I saw a short film on this about 2 weeks back, one short film festival that I was invited to, and I noticed that this had happened for this homeless man. But he, I believe, is getting help since then, but somebody documented him from literally going from a bad situation to a worse situation and then living on the street all of a sudden. And that's a bad situation to find yourself in. So this is happening again and again and again. What's going on? Bolstered by new tax and federal funding that will bring San Francisco's homelessness funding to about $800 million in the next 2 years, program policy leaders are considering buying more properties for homeless housing. Funny that you said that, Jesse. Didn't you said that during the break, right? If you had the money, you probably would do that.
Oh yeah, for the tiny home village or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so they're placing people in vacant apartments around the city and opening a safe RV site for 150 vehicles. Now, I will say RVs, actually, there's a bunch of RVs just sitting in parking lots. I've seen them kind of stored away. I think it would be a good way to kind of, offset even said homes, right? There's a lot of unused RVs that you could probably, again, if you're, again, you don't want anybody to trash it, obviously, but the question of the day is, if it's just sitting there and you're not going to use it ever again, is there a program that you could possibly either donate the time or I know Airbnb is trying to do their thing to help certain victims of Afghanistan, right, to be able to come over and of course have free room and board. But the question of the day is, somebody that's going to be living on the streets going to take care of your property? That's the biggest question, right? So of course, building these small homes is a good step towards going to the next level, because it's difficult enough, right? You have to figure out where to go to the restroom. Certain places won't accept you. I know I'm not homeless, and I went to a gas station the other day, and thank God the guy opened it, but he's like, no, we can't let you use the restroom due to coronavirus. I'm like, are you kidding me? Where am I going to go to the restroom at? It was like 12 o'clock at midnight. But so I feel bad for Lyft drivers. I feel bad for Uber drivers. I feel bad for people that are like trying to, make some money during hours that are difficult to find a restroom. Nobody thinks about it. Elizabeth Funk, founder and head of Dignity Moves, which is the developer of the cabin site, says so many homeless people don't want to go into congregate shelters, and the tents have been a good outdoor alternative, but these cabins are a next big step. When you have your own room and a door that locks, it makes a big difference. Nobody talks about the safety or lack thereof and what happens to those that are living on the streets. It's a terrible situation. They said, I believe when you give someone that kind of dignity, you can get with your own room and a locking door, you're keying them up for more success. Several of those now living in the tents at 33 Gough Street said they're excited at the prospect of trading their fabric walls for solid ones. Each will be offered a spot in the cabin community when it opens. Benjamin Longmore, who's 36, who has been at the Safe Sleeping Village since it opened and is studying to be a poverty issues counselor, said to come home to something that actually feels like a home would be so great. A door you can lock, some heat so you're not cold at night. I would love that. He says, I'm trying to really move on to the next step in my life, and I need all the help I can get. A few tents over, 29-year-old Jacqueline Smith said she's gained over the trauma of living on the streets for several years before moving into the Safe Sleeping Village a month ago. She says, quote this, and this is a real case story here. She says, I never felt safe outside, and this place is a big improvement over the street, but I would really love to have an actual door and a window I could look out of without being exposed. Having a place with walls would make you feel more like you're heading back to normal, which is what I so very much want. She wants away from this life, but she doesn't know how to get there, and that's difficult. Like many at the village, she said, agreed to move into the tent site after being homeless off and on for 10 years because it felt a lot more secure than an inside typical shelter, especially during a pandemic where you can catch a disease by being so close to so many other people. I get it. I understand that now. But here's what people didn't know. The shelters were already at max. I know because I got questioned by a couple people that were domestic abuse victims, like, where do I go? And I pointed them in a couple areas, but each one of those shelters were already at max full, and that was in Orange County. So this has been a thing that has been happening over at least the last 4 to 5 months, but it's been a steady increase on the streets. So the question of the day is, if you were able to actually be a mayor for a month or maybe a couple of months, what would you do? I believe the majority of you would make, well, you would make it happen, period, end of story. You would find the way to do it, just like you, Jesse. You said if you had the money, you would get a what, like a big acre lot, and then put people up in it.
Oh yeah, I would do like make like a giant lot, make like a little village, and there'll be within the village there'll be like a place where you can get food.
Yeah,
And if there's a program where you can like I remember there was a city in Arizona somewhere where you can do like 4 hours of work, like cleaning the streets and stuff like that for the city, and they'll pay you, they'll give you food and stuff like that. So if we have programs like that that help people get back on their feet, I think that would be a better thing.
yeah. I think talking to people that have gotten away from homelessness and then have gotten back to real housing is a good start, because I know people in the past that got over alcoholism and or drugs and then were living on the streets, but got the ability to kind of come back to life literally over a few years. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, but there's usually people that care to help kind of move you to the next step. So we need more caring people. Algenia says this: I will continue to be an anonymous donator. Yes, single family homes, 3 to 4 bedrooms, equipped with solar homes, gated 50 feet walls like the walls of Jerusalem, security office that monitor the community, and on-site nursing community, clinic, mini grocery store, all camera and drones in the community. So she kind of has like this whole like big like village kind of, which kind of reminds you of like a scene from like, I don't know why I want to say this, but like Resident Evil, if you've seen that, right, Jesse, where you have like the city taken care of, but then there's like an outbreak, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm just thinking like 50-foot walls. I'm looking at it. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be encamped in that, because I would be like, what's over that wall, right? But she's like talking about Jerusalem, and I get it. I get her reference. But my point is this: we have to start thinking, what are we going to do for our friends abroad and here on the home front? I know because I've had conversations with homeless people. I've had conversations with kind of young men, like in mid 20s, uh, early 30s, which have suffered in a big way. I took one man from the city of Montebello down to the Orange County to get his check for I think $1,200 from his trust, which he was granted every month. But I met his aunt, and his aunt was mean. And I could tell you right now, I was like, "Who can you stay with that's loving?" And she was not loving at all. I was like, "What's going on with that?" But we're gonna take a quick break here on the morning show. Be loving to your family. Don't judge them harshly. And if they've fallen on hard times, be open to saying, you know what, I can help you, even if I can help you from afar. Because I get it. Sometimes there are drug situations, sometimes there's alcohol situations, and you don't want to be involved in that. I get that. But see if you can at least extend a helping hand if it's in your power to do so. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned. All right, Jesse, let's see.
This will be a quick break.
Okay. This is sad. A nurse's training didn't protect her from vaccine misinformation. Now she's one of the victims of COVID-19. Oh, brother.
Oh Lord, where she stick herself with the needle?
I don't know. Oh, here's some news. I want to get this for my mom, the iPhone 13.
Yeah. I'd be like, I wish they take monthly blood donations. I'd be like, you guys take plasma?
That's, well, she just has to do an upgrade, and then I think she'll be fine.
You got 30 seconds.
Takes good photos.
My thing is when I'm making big purchases like that, I'm like, can I live without it? If the answer is yes, I don't buy it.
I
10
think
seconds.
the answer is no with this. I think you need it in your life, Jesse. If you get lost, you need the iPhone tracker. So there you
2 seconds. I'll just be like, I'm lost, help me. Here we go.
Welcome back.
Welcome
This
back.
is the
Yes, it
morning
is the
show here
morning-
on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM, where we appreciate each and every one of you for spending time with us. Lots of questions, and hopefully we have some answers, especially on this. Well, actually, it just changed. It was something about a recall situation, which we're looking at very closely, and it just disappeared. Darn it, I hate it when I refresh things. But I will say this. There are situations still happening, one of which we kind of talked about, and this is the latest big headline. Afghan women and girls face harsh new reality. The Taliban have made clear that they intend to severely restrict the educational freedoms enjoyed by women and girls the past 20 years. How did we not know that was going to happen, Jesse? I'm pretty sure we called that one out.
Right. I already knew that was going to happen. Like the moment they came back into power, I was like, yeah, I feel bad for the women and children because, they're probably not going to be able to go back to school.
Yeah, so here's the latest, and we got to be careful of this. Again, I say, do the right thing, President. The director of a girls' school in Kabul want to learn details of the plan for girls' education, but they cannot attend the weekly Taliban committee meetings on education. They're for men only. The director, Akila, said they say you should send a male representative, which said inside the high school, which was shattered in May by a terrorist bombing that killed scores of girls. This is just a terrible thing, and they're just letting it be. So I say, do the right thing, move in, take them out, and there you go. That's how you become end state president, period, end of story. All right, we're going to take a huge break. We'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same channel. Make it a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.